Oh, we've done something right. Thank you. I'll assume until told otherwise that the mic's not on. So this is 740. Also responding with this counter to AEA's proposal from June 10th. You'll see that we adopted with yes. This is Article 740 counter proposal. We're adopting with some modification a couple concepts added in AEA's proposal to current book language. So it would read, committees with member representation which are established by the superintendent or the board shall include association participation. That's book language. And then the association president shall be informed before such committees convene. That's new language. The association president shall appoint member representatives on district committees. The representatives selected will be responsible for presenting the position of the association. And those two sentences are book. And then added language similar to what was requested by the by AEA. The district will notify the association of the current hiring process for principals. That's new language. And then the final paragraph is book language, both in AEA's proposal and in this counter.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's not inconceivable that we might get signed something today. Maybe a short 30 minutes? Heidi?
As opposed to a long
30 minutes? The mouse was just jogging there. It wasn't a dead sprint yet.
So we're at 9:57. You want to do 10:30?
Short, medium, or long, 30 minutes.
10:30?
And
Okay.
we can come back to a couple of these.
It's all relative, man.
30 minutes goes pretty quick.
That's right. Hot stove for Carol. Dr. Einstein. It's a great Einstein quote there, Brian. I'll send it to you.
as we speak, my youngest son is flying to Talkeetna.
By himself?
He's actually flying to Talkeetna.
Soloing?
Yeah, by himself. He's gonna land in Talkeetna. Do an oral exam with an instructor he's never met, and then a check ride. And if that goes well, he'll be a licensed pilot.
Has he done all his hours and everything else? Wow. Wow. Nice. Have you been up with him?
No, so he can't. So, but like if today went well, tomorrow he can take me for a ride.
It just made me think of something. So
your
I
dad
don't
gonna let him
know.
fly that thing?
I don't know if you guys know about Cindy Crawford, but
Is he flying your dad's plane?
For him to live.
Great, thank you.
I guess it could be too.
Okay. We're back. We had a productive caucus meeting, and we think we're probably close on Article 740, the association representation. We were looking at the district's counter proposals that they gave us today, and we can accept their proposal. We just have a clarification question. We believe this is the intent. We just want to find out for sure that on these committees, there's an expectation that the committee members will be kept in the loop regarding meeting schedules, agenda, and the product of the meetings. Is that a fair assessment of the intent?
That is a fair assessment of the intent.
Okay, great. In that event, we can sign Article 740. And you want to speak to?
Sure. We also appreciate the time to caucus. We discussed Article 320 and the district's proposal and the association's counter, which was book language, and the district can accept that, and we've signed Article 320 as book. That's legal leave.
And, Mr. Kiefer, did you have a couple clean copies of 740?
I can, there might have been some extras down there. Okay. Okay. All right. I've gathered two over here, so thank you.
I've got one here.
Okay. We also do have a counter to 463 if you'd like to go through that.
Sure.
As that makes its way down, the district appreciates the proposal this morning and the presentation. However, has a continuing interest in sticking close to book language. I did use the opportunity to go through and see if there were adjustments that could be made. So the changes here, as indicated, beginning with the bullets, just numbered bullets to be consistent with the rest of the contract under paragraph A and B. So those are just numbers replacing the bullets. I didn't know how to do it without making it look a mess to cross out the bullets, but those are gone in this proposal. In paragraph A2, there was some discussion last time, not this morning, but whenever it was before we looked at this, some question about consistency with regard to the district's position that it would like to see the elimination of plans of growth, perhaps some confusion in leaving the language in the district's proposal where there's reference to either professional support or plan of improvement. So understanding that could be confusing, we struck either professional support or, and so now it reads an evaluation support coach program only for those who have been evaluated and are on a plan of improvement. Paragraph 3, to update the reference to the department, striking professional as the first word in professional learning department and replacing that with teaching and learning department. And again, the bullets replaced with numbers. We did not accept the request for additional compensation in paragraph D. However, acknowledging that, to the extent that the association views that to be appropriate, certainly nothing restricting some sort of funding coming from the association to enhance that that amount, but just no change there in the district's proposal. And those are the only changes from the previous district proposal. Any questions?
Doesn't appear that we have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. And we did not at this time have any counters to the remaining articles presented by the association this morning.
Okay. Okay. Article 421, hazardous and unsafe conditions. We have a counter for the district. We opened this article, maybe April, something like that, quite some time ago. And At that time, in our initial proposal, we had added 3 new paragraphs at the end of the article that was kind of talking about planning, talking about quarantine reports, and the last one was had the last paragraph of our new language in our initial proposal talked about ensuring indoor air quality. So, while those things are still obviously important to us, that new language is no longer in our proposal. Our new proposal is pretty streamlined. I would be very disappointed if we couldn't sign it today. I think we're probably awfully close. But in paragraph A, it says members may bring to the immediate attention of the supervisor any situation considered to be unsafe or unhealthy. If the district determines that the situation is unsafe or unhealthy, alternative work locations will be arranged. Unsafe conditions will be remedied as soon as practical. So that's book language with the exception of going from shall to may. Then we've included 4.5 lines of new text that come from a sort of modified but OSHA language. It says federal law entitles employees to a safe workplace. ASD must keep the workplace free of known health and safety hazards. Members have the right to speak up about the hazards without fear of retaliation. Members also have the right to request an OSHA inspection and speak to the inspector. Members may contact OSHA directly with concerns. It gives the phone number. Beyond that, it's book language. We struck, in paragraph B, we struck the examples, or the exclusions, I guess you'd say, of the health threats that, and the exclusions were including but not limited to colds, flu, mumps, measles, and chickenpox. Just seemed like it was time to take mumps and measles out of the collective bargaining agreement. And then it's book language down through G. In G, we've struck the word physically in front of assaults, so that it's clear we're dealing with assault of any nature, whether it's physical, sexual, verbal, and then we've accepted the district's change from with legal counseling. Book language was legal counseling shall be available. We've accepted the district's change that legal counseling may be available. So, really, all we've done in this article now to change it from book, from the way it currently exists in our contract. Really, the only substantial change is including the language, steering folks towards knowing what their options are and how to contact someone if they're not satisfied with the results when they feel like there's a safety concern, and they bring it up to their principal, administrator, supervisor, whatever. So it's just a few lines that sort of help guide folks, but doesn't really change the meaning of the contract, doesn't detract from management rights. Seems like it would be easy at this point to get this thing signed.
Okay, I understand the intent, appreciate the movement there. I see that it's significant, and I do appreciate it. We will want to take a look at it in caucus, but I agree that we're working toward, I think, an article we can agree to. Any questions from the ASD side? Okay, I don't see any, so we will take that back and take a look at it.
Okay, next article is 601, recognition. And the new language begins in the first paragraph. So as we propose it, the entire paragraph would read, the association is the exclusive collective bargaining agent for teachers' members as defined by the agreement, and all rights contained herein shall be guaranteed to the association and to no other competing labor organizations or hiring agency. ASD will not contract out without first notifying the association and arriving at a mutual agreement to permit such contracting for a limited period of time. Paragraph 2 reads, the association is recognized for the purpose of this agreement to represent certificated employees, including the following job classifications: classroom teachers, all virtual and online teachers, special education teachers, counselors, nurses, occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech language pathologists, audiologists, librarians, teaching specialists, itinerant music, art and resource teachers, psychologists, and teacher experts, and goes on with more book language. So that's our most recent effort to get somewhere on 601.
Thank you. It looks like it tracks the initial proposal. Was there, I'm looking now to see, was there an interim proposal from AEA on this one? Or is it, I feel like there was. I thought it was book, but I can't find it now.
Our
601.
Our book language was introduced on May 5th and had considerable, had about 10 lines of new text in the second paragraph. So this is
Okay, I'll have to, thank you. I'll have to track that one down. I'm finding one that
yeah, so
was
this is
May 5th, you said?
this is very similar. So May 5th is when we introduced our initial proposal. May 6th we had a proposal that looked very similar, if not. Virtual online. Yeah, I believe this is the same as our May 6th proposal. It's not the same as the initial, but the same as May 6th.
Yeah. I guess I'm not seeing a difference between this current proposal and the initial. It doesn't really matter. I just want to make sure I'm tracking the
Yeah,
various.
I think that's accurate.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't have any questions about that. Any questions from anyone on the ASD team? Okay, thank you.
Last counter we have for you this morning is Article 423, emergency closure. In our proposal, Article 423, all of the existing book language would stay as it was. We've added paragraphs D and F. Paragraph D says, in no case will distance delivery be implemented in lieu of closure prior to using the 2 days allocated as contingency days. Paragraph E says, beyond the 2 contingency days, any closure days that are less than 5 consecutive days will be considered days to be made up. And paragraph F, which is again new language, it says AEA and ASD will work together to decide how best to deliver education to students in the event that schools are closed due to a major disaster or pandemic. The joint committee will be formed to include ASD representatives and president-selected AEA representatives to develop a plan of delivery. So I think we've come back considerably from where we started, I believe, but and kind of cleaned up. I think the last time we talked about emergency closure, there were questions about, well, what if it goes this long? What if it goes that long? Which were all, fair questions, trying to sort out the what ifs. And I think we've done well now to kind of break these things in contract language to issues that are less than 5 days of duration, and then the longer duration.
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions. I think I understand the intent. Questions, anyone? Not seeing any.
Well, if we took a short 40-minute caucus, then we could maybe hammer out a couple more articles and just give us 20 minutes to share with the other side what we've come up with.
One.
Or you? Oh, I'm sorry.
One thought, and I brought these in, anticipating that it might be useful to have some other articles that maybe we can TA today. I have, and I know I didn't notice these, so I can go either way on it, but I have articles 410 and 412. 410 is medication administration. 412 is vacancy. I believe the district has proposed some housekeeping changes. I believe they may be acceptable, but it's something we could.
Sure. Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
look at them quick, and then
Okay.
still gives time for a short 30-minute break.
I think that's enough. I was looking at the district's initial proposal. I understand there are some changes in the association's initial proposal on Article 412. That's what this article is. But thought it'd be worth passing it to see if there's interest in working on this today. The only change, as you'll see, 2 changes in the district's proposal here are in paragraph B, vacancies known to talent management department in a striking human resources office and specifically referencing talent management. And then there's a reference to internet/website. Not sure what the intent is there, but to make that correction or more clear, just that it'd be on the district's website. So it would read, vacancies known to the talent management department shall be announced as soon as practical on the district's website, but in no case later than, and then the rest is book.
And, I'm sorry, you probably mentioned this, this is your initial, correct?
Yes, this is the initial. Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Any questions on that one?
Policy, Matt.
In policy, so in our initial proposal, we have vacancies will be posted for a minimum of 5 days, and then we struck all the dates in B. Is there anything in policy right now by ASD that we could reference to see if that language that we're proposing is irrelevant or actually in tandem with current policy?
Let me review the language here quickly. As to the AEA initial proposal, the addition of the language at the conclusion of paragraph A that says vacancies will be posted for a minimum of 5 days would be a new contractual requirement. As to what the current practice is, I would have to inquire, but it would essentially capture in a contractual requirement a minimum posting period that doesn't currently exist in contract. I mean, that's self-evident. I don't know in terms of practice.
I understand that, Matt. That's if we could review the policy and see the policy, maybe that language is not needed, is where I'm going with that.
And I can make those inquiries. I don't have the answer in terms of that.
And I think we added this to our proposal because under 150 for added duty, there was a minimum posting time. So it seemed for something that was even more important, that had property value, that you would want to post it and give everybody a fair shot for 5 days. So that was the thinking. And then we struck the March through October dates because I believe that goes back to a time when they took those postings and stuck them on a bulletin board outside of the mailboxes, and nobody does that anymore. So we just thought it could be posted on the website, and that's where everybody goes because we don't do that. So that was the thought.
I think that's probably accurate, and I can confirm that, but that's likely a change we would acknowledge is appropriate given the current way that positions are filled. Unless there are other questions, no, we wanted to leave time for a caucus. The next one is 410 medication administration. My review of AEA's initial proposal is that there is no change proposed. So these are district changes, again, from my perspective in the nature of housekeeping. I'll just read through them. The changes in paragraph A. Medication administration is a necessary condition for the student to remain in school, and no nurse striking unit administrator or other trained person is available to administer it. And then the second paragraph is consistent, the changes to paragraph B are consistent with what I'd previously referenced in regard to some of the leave articles, updating there the reference to physician to cover more broadly or qualified medical provider. So that's the suggested new language. There is given specific written permission to do so by the student's parent, guardian, or qualified medical provider. So, or qualified medical provider is the new language. And then in D, and I'll go back to the introductory language. In emergency situations, the teacher in charge may be required to administer oral medication provided. D, there is a form for keeping an accurate record of dosage, as well as a secure storage place in the front office or nurse's office, understanding that may provide a little more specificity as to where those records are kept. And that's a change. The additional language is front and or nurse's office specific, striking school office as the more general reference.
And again, why was unit administrator struck in A?
Reading that again, in emergency situations, the teacher in charge may be required to administer oral medication provided medication administration is a necessary condition for the student to remain in school and no nurse or other trained person is available to administer it. It's unclear to me why that requirement is currently in there. To me, it's there's either a trained person there to administer it or there's not, and it may or may not include the unit administrator.
I was wondering in the past if there was a hierarchy of who we want to do that.
Not really, but you.
Dan, if I could, from a school perspective.
In an elementary office, not necessarily. It, in most cases, would be the unit administrator. There are some rare circumstances, though, where the unit administrator might be on site, but performing a function that they're either already into or only they should be the ones that handle it, and the teacher in charge would then be filling in that spot. I think it just gives a little more flexibility at the site. Now, with secondary nursing offices, I would need Chris or someone else to talk about that. At elementary, it usually would be, but I'll give you an example. Maybe if administrators 45 minutes into a very significant safety or discipline or behavioral situation with a student that they can't be stepped out of, but that need exists, then you only have one administrator at the elementary level, you might have a need for that flexibility.
So I think unit administrator, I think the teacher in charge was, the reference to teacher in charge in the paragraph is because the unit administrator would not be available to do that. So Dan, you just gave an example of why that might happen with the unit administrator in the building as well. I'm just curious, I'm a little uncomfortable. I don't know that teachers in charge, the reference to teacher in charge may need to change as well now, because a lot of times it's the AAs that do it. I mean, we're not going to pull a teacher in charge who's not teacher in charge at the moment, is teaching students out of their classroom to go administer medication because the unit administrator's not available. I mean, it's just, I guess where I'm going, the teacher in charge reference is when the teacher in charge is teacher in charge. So if the teacher in charge is teaching, we're not going to pull them out to administer medication.
Well,
We would instruct the
I mean, I
students.
think back to the original question from Brian about the reason I'm not sure why unit administrators even referenced here is, I mean, typically I think what this is getting at is situations where the unit administrator isn't in the building, teacher in charge is in charge. And so I don't know why, that's why I say I don't know why unit administrator is referenced. Dan gave an example of maybe the teacher in charge is in the building and so is the unit administrator. But even still, I'm not certain. But to your point, Corey, I think Dan wants to.
Yeah, I would just say again, at elementary level, there's a wide range of scenarios where teachers in charge are used, and they aren't all the absence of an administrator from the building, right? So that could be that person is doing something on their prep time or supporting in another way. Those are back and forth relationships that don't always involve a full or partial day absence.
So I guess my point is, Dan, all those things may be applicable. I'm just wondering if it shouldn't say, if we are removing a unit administrator, because we're going to default back to someone who is qualified and trained, maybe teacher in charge needs to be removed as well, and it should just read, in emergency situations, another trained or qualified medical, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the district opened it, so if there's some interest in that, certainly we'd be
Okay.
willing to consider a counter.
And I don't know if this was part of your thinking, but we did have, there's training that has to occur for people to deliver medications, and that training has to take place for whoever's doing it, including the administrators. And we did have an instance this year, some discussion back and forth, in which an administrator wasn't trained yet. So from at least my particular opinion, I'm just as happy to have it just be a trained person. So whoever you're talking about has the training, whether they're an administrator or whoever they are. So I don't know if that was some part of your thinking when you got rid of that, but
Mhm.
that's what's going on in my head anyway, as to why you would have crossed that out.
Yes, thank you. That's a good point. And that's, as I said, just to ensure that we have plenty to keep ourselves busy, I wanted to give the association a couple more articles, so that's what we had prepared.
Help shorten that 45 minutes.
Did you want to come back at a quarter till?
Maybe, let's try to squeeze a few more minutes. How about 10 till? And we'll see if we can get one or two knocked out.
Okay. All right, I think we have the SD team back. We keep losing folks, but this is who's coming back. We were able to work out counters to 421 and 601, so we have those. We also, there were some questions around 412, Article 412. I did confirm that there is no, the practice in talent management with respect to filling position is that they're posted until filled. So there's no, I mean, I don't have a percentage in terms of the percentage that are posted for at least 5 days, because that's how long the process takes, but there's no restriction in either the contract or in practice to require the 5-day posting, so that would be a change. I'd also point out there may be situations where it's of mutual interest to the association and the district to make some sort of immediate change. So I just would point out there may be some timing restriction that's unintended by requiring that we post a position and post it for 5 days in terms of what discretion we have to work out a solution to a particular issue we're working through with the association. But having said that, I don't have an answer yet on the deadlines that are, the dates that are mentioned in the final paragraph, last sentence. I think, Debbie, you're correct, but I need to confirm that. So perhaps we can return to Article 412 next time, and I'll, in the interim, Brian, get you some more definitive answers as to what the current practice is with respect to posting, but also those dates mentioned in the final sentence.
Thank you.
So did you want to do 421 and 601? Or do you have one you want to?
We have a counter for your 410 that you just gave us.
Okay.
So this is kind of a funny setup, but in our initial proposal, we didn't, we never opened 410, but, or did not open 410, but, so we're kind of giving you a counter now without even the initial, but anyway, basically what we've done is tried to clean this up. It did seem like fairly old language, and maybe we can come up with something that makes a little bit more sense. So, our proposal, or our counter to you, would read: in emergency situations, a trained person may be required to administer oral medication, provided the medication administration is a necessary condition for the student to remain in school and no nurse is available to administer it. There is given specific written permission to do so by the student's parent or guardian or qualified medical provider. There's given instructions for medication, including identification, quantity, purpose, and possible side effects by the school nurse. There's a form for keeping an accurate record of dosage as well as secure storage place in the front office or nurse's office. And then took some of the sentiment from the first paragraph, put at the end here: any member acting in this capacity shall receive appropriate training prior to the administration of any medications to students. This member is covered by the district's liability insurance. So,
Yep.
hopefully that helps provide a little bit of clarity on what we're trying to do there.
Yeah, I think I understand the intent. I appreciate the reference to training in a couple areas. Any questions from ASD? Okay, we'll take this back and give it consideration. Thank you. Okay, I think what I'll do is start with 601. Did I already hand this out to you? Yeah, okay. Appreciate the proposal earlier, noting that it is tracking the association's interest, back to the initial proposal. The district similarly maintains its interest in some flexibility, particularly with respect to providing healthcare services to students. So I won't go through the language because it's the same as in a prior proposal with respect to nurses who are employees at the time that this agreement's approved by the school board. What I would point out is at our last meeting when this was brought forward, it was pointed out that librarians was inadvertently left out of the list of certificated employees represented under the agreement, and that has been amended to insert what is book language in reference to librarians. So the only change between the district's prior proposal on 601 and this proposal is that putting librarians back into the list where it was librarians were inadvertently omitted before. Any questions on that one?
Well, kind of looking at the clock. Is there another article you want to go through?
We have 421.
Okay, we might should, I'll save my question for later.
Okay. You have this one too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have 421.
As I mentioned earlier, did recognize the significant movement from AEA in its proposal earlier this morning, and appreciate that. We think we should be, we believe, at a place where we can agree to this. There are some differences, though, in the two proposals, so I'll kind of go through those. First paragraph, keeping the book language that members shall bring to the immediate attention of a supervisor any situation considered to be unsafe or unhealthy. The association's proposal had replaced shall with may. The district prefers the book language with respect to that. It's a professional expectation that if there is a safety hazard, that the member or any employee would bring that forward to the district. So that's the reason for that approach, continued approach there. Taking the new language in the first paragraph proposed by the association and drafting it in the way that's presented here, and I'll read through that, we believe captures the intent. So it would say, if the district determines that the situation is unsafe or unhealthy, alternative work locations will be arranged. That's book language. Also book language, unsafe conditions will be remedied as soon as practicable. And then new language, employees are entitled to a safe workplace. Members have the right to speak up about hazards without fear of retaliation. And members also have the right to contact OSHA directly with concerns. So those would be additional sentences, we believe, working toward the association's interest in its prior proposal. Paragraph B, beginning with book language, a member may refuse to carry out an order that threatens health, excluding normal childhood diseases. So the change there would, in recognition to some of this might be, particularly mumps, might not be as much of an issue, that no effort to specifically reference any particular childhood disease, but nevertheless not also wanting to create a circumstance where we signal some interest that if, for example, a child is in school and appears, to be sick, that this wouldn't, we wouldn't want to inadvertently capture an intent that a member could, under all circumstances where they believe there maybe to be a normal childhood disease, that they could, that this article would apply and they could refuse to carry out an order. So kind of a, I don't know if split the difference is the right way to put it, but a compromise approach there to continue to reference childhood diseases without enumerating them. And then further down, appreciate the movement in the final parts of the article from the association. The district is coming back to its language in a prior proposal with one exception, and that is removing physically assaults as a specifier there. And so the proposal would read, the district will support the filing of a criminal complaint against any adult not employed by the district who assaults a member while on duty. And then we understand the association has adopted the following change, that legal counseling may be available, changing from shall be available, and that's appears here again in the district's proposal. And those are the only changes.
Up in paragraph A, this is old language, but members shall bring to the immediate attention of the supervisor any situation considered to be unsafe or unhealthy. Not to split hairs too much, I guess, but members shall bring to the immediate attention of the supervisor any situation they consider to be unsafe or unhealthy, correct? Would that be your interpretation? I mean, there's sort of it's a pretty broad spectrum of who considers what to be unsafe or unhealthy. So it's up to the member to make the determination.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'd be
I
a,
might see something that I know it's been like that for 15 years, I'm not worried about it, and somebody else may see it and go, whoa, wait, that needs to be addressed. So we're referring to the member's judgment here, correct?
I think that's accurate so long as their judgment's not impaired. I mean, in other words, I mean, there is kind of I think an inferred reasonable person standard. But yeah, I mean, admittedly, there may be 5 people who view a certain condition in a classroom, in each of them in their own way. So, but if a trash can's on fire in the corner, even if the person doesn't think that's unhealthy or unsafe, I would say it is.
Agreed. Probably. Yeah, just want to make sure that we know what we're
Yeah,
signing up
and
for.
really
It is old language, but, and that, I think that was part of the conversation going from Shell to May on that one. Like I said, I mean, I might look at the thing and go, no, I don't think it's that big a deal, and somebody else might go, oh, hey, that's a problem. So if there's a different standard, if there's some standard out there that everyone needs to know about and adhere to, I would understand the shall, but if it's just us using our common judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's been an issue with respect to. I mean, now let me say, there probably are conditions from time to time in classrooms that are unsafe and unhealthy because of the neglect of a particular adult. And so I'm not saying that there wouldn't be circumstances where the district might need to address through some remedial work with that employee situations that they should have realized were unsafe and unhealthy and ignored or didn't deal with. But I'm not aware of, members being disciplined because it was something that in their judgment they didn't view to be.
Okay.
So I think we would stay with whatever we've been doing for however old this language is, and then acknowledge that, I think of central interest to the association is the rights that are enunciated in the highlighted language, the new language.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
Okay.
All right. One other, I guess, kind of request, whatever we might be good to start thinking through this week about dates moving forward. And then maybe we can discuss those either Wednesday or Thursday of next week when we meet again.
Does the AEA team intend to meet in July, or, as a general kind of concept, should we be looking at July?
We haven't nailed that down for sure, but July is definitely tough for us.
Right.
So I think I think you'd be hard pressed to find days in July that are going to work for us. So,
Okay.
So I would suppose start in August, and we were talking about it briefly. August is tricky. You get the lead up to school starting, and then first week or so after that, there's a lot of open houses and whatnot. So
Right.
it's gonna be tricky, but yeah, let's start looking for August dates and
Okay.
see what we can find.
We'll do that.
If we can, even if we just find a couple, whatever, that's something.
Okay. Yep. We'll work on that. For next week, what I'll do is I do have already identified a number of other articles that I think are maybe not in the kind of in the 410, 412 type category in terms of maybe we're not completely aligned, but sort of articles that I think we have some room to work on. So I could identify those in an email just to let you know which ones
Sure.
I'll bring forward. Did you have something you wanted to work on?
We don't have anything in the hopper right now. Maybe. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we absolutely do. Yes, sorry. On Wednesday, we would like to open 403,
Okay,
and that's as you well know, pretty.
that'll take
article, so-
some time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And beyond that, we might have some time to get together and work on counters, but we haven't set anything there, so I'm not sure.
Tarlisha, are you here on Wednesday?
I am.
Good. That's helpful.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
I'm almost positive.
So, yeah, Matt, 403 should take a pretty healthy chunk of Wednesdays, I suspect. But beyond that, we don't have anything firm for you, but try to get some counters if we can.
Okay, yeah, we'll look at counters ourselves, and then I'll have those other articles available in case we need to turn to those, and we'll give some consideration to August dates.
Okay, very good. Yeah, thank you all. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
See you in a week.